Hello again. All right, so in this video, I'm going to get a little bit more into doing complex animations, but I want to talk about animations to begin with. There's a lot of really great resources. If you've never done any kind of animation, or if you've done some but need a little bit more, the first book I would recommend is this. This is the Animator Survival Kit by Richard Williams, and it does a really good job of laying out a lot of the fundamentals of animation. Beyond that, I would recommend books like this one, Disney Animation, The Illusion of Life, if I can get it on screen a little bit better. So this was done by Frank and Ollie. And then another great one is Don Bluth, The Art of Animation Drawing. Don Bluth had a couple of books with this, but they're fantastic. There are a lot of other books that you can find, but these are some of the better resources for it. And the same principles that you can pick up in these, let me switch over here, can be found online as well. So this is one of the drawings from the Animator's Survival Kit and kind of goes through the process of setting up a walk cycle, what the movements are. There are a lot of other references you can find online as well for setting up basic walk cycles, jumps, and movements, dealing with things like gravity. And all of these basic principles that apply to animation can be applied here as you're doing retro 2D art as well. So let me jump over here. There we go. To this again. And I'm going to take you through the process of roughing in a slightly more complex animation. I'm going to just get a new layer here. And with this more complex animation, we'll then implement that into Unity. And this is the same as, or the same equivalent as doing like a pencil test, just a movement rough pencil test for traditional animation. All right, let me change this. Sorry, I had my settings set for some other projects. I'm still working at a fairly low resolution. Let me bring this up. Nope. So I'm still going to use this. I'll actually still keep with this kind of character. So what I'll do is I'll take this character here, the one right there, and I'm going to lower the opacity just to act as kind of a guide for what I'm looking at. But I'm going to do a rough walk cycle. So if I know that I'm going to have this character walking to the left here, actually, I'll have them walking to the right. So what I will do is I'm going to duplicate this and do a quick transform. Just flip that horizontal. And let's say I want to get a lot more information in. So similar to that other one I was just showing. So right here where you can see that there's the contact pose. They go down a little bit, they come up as they do the passing pose, and then they step down for another contact. That same principle is going to be applied here. So I'm going to start with the contact pose. So this is roughly the head size, and right here I'm not worried about the exacts. I'm not worried about having this specifically perfect. Oh, and I also need to make sure I'm not drawing on that layer. Draw on this layer. Okay. So here's the head shape. I'll have the shoulder here maybe, or right there. And this is going to be the contact. So I've got that foot stepping down, making contact. And this back foot where the heel's raised up. Once more, I can worry about all of the specifics and details about like the arm positions and everything else later. This is just to get a rough feel for it, for where I want this to be. And so maybe when they're idling, they'll be taller. For this, I can already see that I'm limited by space. So when you're doing regular pencil tests, you'll have a lot more room. For this, we're still working within this limited confined space. And so I want, when they're doing the contact, I want him to be 1 pixel lower. So I am going to actually remove that top row of pixels. Let me make sure I change this to pencil. All right, mode for the eraser so that it works properly. So there's the first one. Now I can do the second one. And this one I can also take and lower the opacity. And what I can do is I can hide that background idle right now because I don't need it as a guide. I'm just doing a lower opacity for this to kind of get me a feel. So maybe I'll do the little bit of a drop down. So one more pixel lower just to get the overall shaping in. Drop that shoulder down just a little bit. Get that big gut coming down just a slight bit lower. And this is where the foot will start to come down as they're walking. This leg will be hitting the very back end of this. And if I'm not sure at any point, I can look back over here and go, okay, well, what am I doing? I'm going from this contact to the recoil, which is just still there. So it's not passing yet, but it's just kind of going down. And then I can go up into the high point, and I'm not going to do all of these. I'm adding in a few more to add some more movement in here, but I don't necessarily need each of these. I also don't need all of the other in-betweens to complete it. I'm just going for the same, or for the basic shape. So I want that little bit of a recoil after the hit. I then want it to go to a high point, and then I want it to come back down to the contact, and then I'm doing the same thing for the opposite side, the recoil, the high point, and then it will come back to the contact. So let me switch over here again. There we go. All right. So I've got this bit of a recoil where the knee's coming down just a little bit. Create a new frame. Hide that one. This one I'll lower the opacity down so I can kind of see through it a little bit. And make sure that you've got the correct layer selected each time. So this is going to go up to the high point. In this case, I'm kind of, let's see. Yeah, I've got the right leg's the one that's back on this. The left leg's the one going forward. So I'm going to finish this with the right leg. Okay, so this comes up to the high point. So once again, if I double check this, transition over here. So at that high point, the leg comes forward. So I may want a passing pose in there at some point, or I may not. Let me test this out, and then I'll figure out what it is I need and how it's going to look. So let me transition back over, if this works. There we go. So this is the high point. This is where the head's going to go all the way to the top of the screen. So just get that shape roughed in. Erase some of these bottom ones. All right, this is coming back up. And maybe that arm is swinging back on this. So other arms coming forward a little bit. But this leg is now going to be kicking forward. And this other leg will have dropped back. And actually, let me make sure this one stays up in the air for just a little bit. So I want to erase this bottom section. Lower that down to just 1 pixel. And I'll have this one coming flat here. Okay, do the next one. All right, and so for this, I need the opposite contact pose. All right, let me just kind of looking around at this really fast. Okay, well, so for this other one, I'll bring it down. Whoop, make sure I'm drawing on the correct layer again. Bring this down just a little bit more again. Bring this shoulder down where I kind of like overdid it, and now it's kind of coming back. And I'll need to play around with it because my arms are obviously off on this. This arm is right there. And then this is that contact where it's there. Oh, it's there, and then raising up. Got this shape. And then this one's going into the heel up position. Erase some of these pixels that I'm going crazy with apparently. Okay, from that contact, I'm going to do this recoil. And this is where it's good to check that other back one really fast. Okay. From there, I'm going to drop it. Whoop. 1 pixel lower. Getting that basic shape in. Have that start swinging forward. And then here to more of the bend. This also with a little bit. And then to this final one. Lower this one down. To this final one, where I'm going to have it go to that high point again, where I've got that crossover. Double checking how that looked. Okay. And so this one, it's going back. Let me make sure I'm not going too far. Yep, that goes a little further back. So I'm still good there. So this one's going back. The arm's swinging forward. And then this back leg come up here to where it's not quite touching. And then that will loop through to this bottom one. And I've obviously lost some of my form over each of these. I could be taking a lot more care and detailing them, but for the purposes of getting through this tutorial really quick, let me just increase the opacity on all of these. And here's where it gets fun, because now I can output these as a quick pencil test, and this is where I can very quickly see where are the problems in here, what's working, what's not working, what do I need to change. And so let me take this layer too, and I will do the same process I did in the last video. I will file, save a copy. Under here, I'm going to go under the character test. I'm going to create a new folder. Call this CT_walk. Oh, I had a couple of extra symbols in there apparently. CT walk, create. Say this is a PNG. And I'll just copy this name as I go down to CT walk, but then I'll change it from idle to walk. And this way I can keep my name formatting the same across all of these. Okay, and then I just open up the next one. I do this for all of them. File, save a copy. PNG, 2D example. And if I want to speed this up a little bit more, I'll just drag and drop this here so I can just go straight to it. This will be CT Walk 2. And I'll often do quick shortcuts when I'm in the middle of a project just to help with the speed while I'm working on specific sections that I can then remove later when I don't need them. But for right now, it'll just make this part faster. Okay, jump to this third one. File, save a copy. PNG. CT Walk, change this to CT Walk 3. I got to do this for 3 more. This will be CT Walk 4. I know, saving files is not fun to watch, but it is the process. And the final one, file, save a copy, make sure it's PNG, CT Walk, make this CT Walk 6. Save that. All right, so now I can go to Unity. And let me begin by going to this CT Walk folder here for this main character. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all 6 of these. Once again, I'm going to go to the filter mode, change it to point, no filter. And I'm going to change the compression to none, and then hit apply. And that way these will actually read the way they should. And then with this character T selected, this one right here, which I'll actually slide a little bit further on in this game window, I'm going to create new clip, and under assets, character tests, under CT walk, I can call the, actually let me double check what I named the other one. I always like to make sure that I've got some kind of naming structure. CT idle anim, so that works. So that will be CT walk anim. And then I can change naming from there, add numbers and stuff like that. But now I've got these two different options. I've got this idle anim that's already there. And then for the walk anim, I just need to drag and drop again. So I can drop this in here. And at, let's say like 4 frames, I'll put that one in. This is just to test it. I can shift it around. This is going to be a little bit longer, so maybe put that an additional 6 frames. Let's see. I'll do this at like frame... I'll do this at frame 12 for right now. Grab the next one, and then it's that step down. I'll just do that a few frames away as well. Maybe I'll do it one more. I'm just eyeballing it right now, but this is another cool place where if you go and check actual animation charts, timing charts, you can figure it down to the frame how long each of these actions should take. It's another case of having these principles apply across a lot of different mediums. Oh, and I am losing track of which ones I am on, so I'm probably getting the timing completely messed up here. Let me do this one again here. And then I'll do that one more time for the final extension before we start that loop over again. So it's not giving me a super clear understanding. Let me try one more thing that will often help. I'm going to come through and just flood some of these. So I am going to go over here. Select this skin tone. And what I'll do is I will just flood these in. It's not great. Whoop. And for the front leg, I'll keep it the skin tone. Oop. All right, and then for the back leg and hand, I will fill in with the blue. Actually, you know what? I won't. I'm going to fill that in with kind of a darker color just to help it just stand out clearly. Make sure I have the actual layer selected. And once more, I don't need this to be perfect. This is just roughing in the motion. Because later I can always come back and do the polish and clarification once I have the basic movement implemented. And usually I try and get it a lot cleaner than this. But as I said, I am trying to do this in a fast time limit. So this gets it blocked at least. So now I got to go through and resave each of these. So file, save a copy. But now I can just select it really fast and not have to retype anything. So there's one, replace. And this would also be a good time to talk about naming. It is helpful to actually name these individual layers in Photoshop as well. For right now, I'm not going to because of time, but there they are. So save as PNG, walk 2, replace that one. File, save a copy. PNG, walk 3, replace that one. File, save a copy. PNG, walk 4, place that. File, save a copy, PNG, walk 5, and final one, file, save a copy, PNG, walk 6, replace that. All right, so when I jump back over to Unity, it imports those and updates them. And now when I check this out, I'm not liking it very much because I'm not getting enough movement with it. So I can do this a little slower. And the legs kicking too far out, I really do want to add in those passing poses. So let me add in 2 fast passing poses. And I've got kids running around, so I apologize. It's going to become part of the recording. All right, so I know that the passing pose, I did want to add those in then. After I checked this, it became very clear that it's not reading correctly without it. So to do that, I am going to add in a layer right here after this one before it gets to that one. And for both the top and the bottom one, I'm going to lower the opacity. But I want to kind of be able to see what's happening with them. Okay, so that moves to there. That goes up 2. So for the passing, I'm going to have it go up just 1. And I'll have that arm go about halfway back with the swing. Okay, so I'm getting a general idea of where I want this. And so I will start to draw in. So get this arm coming down to about here. Let me check this one again. Yep, that feels like a fairly decent spot. This is somewhere in between those, so about right here. I do want that leg swinging forward, so I'll have this come to here as the foot's kicking up, getting ready to pass. And this leg on the back will be starting its move or motion back. I'll just set it right here for now. It's not great motion, but it gets me a start, and then I can decide whether I need to move the legs at all. Once again, this is a little bit more difficult because we're working across or working with very limited limited space in here, so I can't get like a fully clean pass. So if I shift over to this, you can see that with the passing, the body's going to be leaning a little more forward. The other leg's going to be a little bit further back before it goes to full pass. So I actually may shift this just a little bit more. So let me transition this back. Maybe I'll have this body lean just a little bit further forward as we're going into the passing. And I'll bring this leg further forward. So let me do some erasing and some cleanup. I'll push that one further back. And then I'll have this one come to right here where it's kind of going behind that. I'll just do it to there for right now. All right, so this will become this current passing pose. Let me do the 2 quick fills. And then open up one of these to get that other color. Actually, I'll come back and do that final fill in just a second. Okay, and then the final thing here is I need to do the other passing pose. So this one I will increase the opacity again. This one I'll increase the opacity. This one I will lower the opacity. And this one I'll lower the opacity. That way I know where I'm working at. So from there to this one, once more, I know I'm going to be going up at least 1 sprite or 1 pixel. And this one is still swinging a little further forward. I I'm needing to probably come back and adjust the arms. Don't worry, I'm not going to make you sit through all that in this video. But hopefully you're getting the idea of like how this starts to work out. So this leg I'm going to bring back to here as it's walking by. And then that other leg I'm bringing forward as it's kind of swinging its way. Okay, so I'm going to fill these, and then that kicks out from there. I'm actually going to bring that back just a touch based on where that's kicking out. All right. So take this and hide it. Take this one and hide it. And then I'm going to do the fill again. Whoop. Make sure I get the right color here. Okay, hide that. I'm going to do another fill here and another fill on this one for that bottom foot area. Which honestly probably needs to get a little bit of this treatment. Okay, so now I've got these two extras. I could go through and rename all the others. In a lot of cases, when I end up having to add in new frames, if I do it at this early stage, then I'll just rename it. If it's a later stage where I find out I've made a mistake and they're mostly polished, or if there's a large number of them, I may just add it in as an additional like letter. It just depends on how you want to do it. For this case, I want to do this fairly fast, so I will PNG. Go to the CT walk, and this comes in at number 3, and this is where having things named can help. So I will do this CT2_A or something like that. I will save that, and this will be file save a copy. Get over here, PNG. And this will be 5_A. So I'm just adding something extra in. Let me open this back up in Unity. All right, now both of these that I just added, there's a problem with. They have not had their settings changed. So I need to actually select those, make them point no filter, make sure that the compression's set to none, and apply that. And then I can add them in as part of this animation. So I'll grab that first one and drop it in. Grab this second one over here and drop it in. And now let's get a feel for it and see how the animation goes. All right, so there's a pop here, especially at the end. Because it's not nearly matching up to the fatter character here. So I do need to work on cleaning this up, but hopefully you can see that this at least gives me a part of a process so I can see, does this animation work? If it's going too fast, I can spread these out, give myself a little bit more room for the animation. Just kind of extending it and seeing how it goes. All right, so now I'll open this clear up. Run this again. All right, so there's an obvious awful pop here as it goes to the beginning. The rest of it's starting to come along, and I can feel that step, move, and so I do need to take some more time to clean it up, fix some of these spots where I can see the foot's disappearing on the bottom. But this is how you can start to block in and rough some more complex animations where you're going beyond just like 2-frame animations. Anyway, hopefully this is giving you an idea of how you can start approaching more detailed movement and animation in these retro styles. To keep that true retro look, you definitely don't want to go too in depth with this where you're adding an animation for every frame, because that would make it too clean and smooth. But adding in enough so that you can get the feeling of motion, same as I showed in a couple videos back with the dinosaur that roared, where he went into the wind up, down, did his roar, kind of leading into it, and had the going back. I didn't need everything in between, but I did need to hit the major parts. And so with a walk, I technically can get away with just the legs one way and then shifting to the other and going back and forth. But I could also add just a little bit more to help create a cleaner flow. And then from here, you know how to now do kind of pencil tests in this retro environment, as well as being able to advance it. Anything that you do with this, if I jump back over here, can then be, once it's all done, cleaned up and get a finish pass the same as these ones that were done for the idle. So anyway, take care and good luck experimenting and having fun playing around with this. Bye.